Hi everyone, I'm Brody Bitters.
And I'm Chandler Hart, filling in for Marissa Justy.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of The Bark. There was a ton of sports action that took place this week, from right here on this campus to across the globe.
Let's dive right in.
First, we start off with the 2023 NCAA men's basketball tournament as it is in full effect. And as they say in March, anything can happen. With numerous busted brackets and crazy upsets, this year's tournament has been nothing short of spectacular. Let's take a look at what teams have made it this far, along with their respective matchups in the Sweet 16. Taking a look at the South, the first matchup to keep an eye on is number 6 Creighton taking on number 15 Princeton. Princeton is looking to make history by becoming the second team in NCAA tournament history, St. Peter's being the first, to make it to the Elite 8 as a 15 seed. The Blue Jays are no small opponent, however, so this will definitely be a marquee matchup in this tournament. Another big matchup to keep your eyes on is in the Midwest region, as number 3 Gonzaga looks to take on number 2 UCLA. This is a big game for the two programs, as they went up against each other in the 2021 NCAA Final Four, while UCLA looks to take revenge against the Zags for crushing their hopes of making the championship that year. 2021 was the last time Gonzaga has made it to the national championship. With a lot of history and skill between the two programs, you will definitely not want to miss this game. And as for my predictions for the other 6 games taking place, I have number 1 Alabama beating number 5 San Diego State to move on to the Elite 8 out of the Southern region. For the 2 games in the Midwest region, I have number 1 Houston defeating number 5 Miami and number 2 Texas taking down number 3 Xavier. Out of the East region, I predict that number 9 FAU will fall to number 4 Tennessee, and in a big upset, I feel that number 7 Michigan State, led by head coach Tom Izzo, will take down number 3 Kansas State. And for the final game in the West, I have number 8 Arkansas defeating number 4 UConn. Now let's take a look at Marissa's predictions on the women's side.
Thanks, Brody. The women's NCAA tournament is also in full swing, and there's no shortage of madness. The NCAA 2023 Women's Basketball Championships are fully underway, with teams fighting for Elite 8 spots. Teams to look out for are Miami and Ole Miss. Miami, a 9 seed, has shown their offensive side throughout the tournament and has seen lots of success these past few weeks. Ole Miss stunned number 1 seed Stanford to advance to the Sweet 16. These underdogs will look to keep going and continue to shock future opponents. Villanova, out of the Big East, has had a great year. Maddie Siegrist, the senior forward for Villanova, has had quite the start to the tournament. Siegrist is averaging 29.2 points in the tournament so far. With Maddie leading her team, the Wildcats are bound to keep advancing. Teams are going to fight for the Final Four spots, but I think the teams that will come up on top are South Carolina, LSU, Iowa, and UConn. South Carolina has been a threat for the entirety of the year. LSU, led by Kim Mulkey and her 2 stars Angel Reese and Alexis Morris, are here for a long run. Iowa and Caitlin Clark will certainly be a menace. UConn is no surprise, as Gino Auriemma has took their team to the Final Four many times before. It certainly is a great year for upsets, and the women's NCAA tournament continues to prove that, as well as show the dominant teams who have come to play. Now let's hear from Ben, who's back on campus covering the spring sports.
Thanks, Chandler. There's been a lot of basketball going on this season, but now it's actually spring. Now let's recap some spring sports. We start off with baseball. Butler had a rough start this season with a record of 2-14 going into last week. However, Butler had 4 games to catch up in the standings. Butler faced off against Northwestern, where they played a 2-game series. They lost the first game, but got into the win column on Sunday with a 3-2 victory. Butler then played at home on Tuesday, where they got the win against Eastern Michigan 9-7. Both victories were led by graduate student infielder Jake DeFries, where he had a 3-hit game in the first one and 2 sac flies in the second. However, yesterday would not go well for the boys as they were defeated 19-2 at the hands of Ball State. Butler is scheduled to have 4 more games this week, traveling to Cincinnati for a 3-game stand and Notre Dame on Tuesday. We now transition to softball, where the girls have been on a tear looking to win its 5th straight game. They were previously supposed to play a 3-game stand at St. John's, but it was canceled due to weather. This led to only 1 game this week, where they went up against IPUI and won 6-3. The victory was led by redshirt sophomore Paige Dorsett. She has 15 hits this season and has a batting average of .319. Butler will look to keep it going, where they will travel to Providence for a 3-game series this weekend and play in-state rival Indiana on Tuesday. Butler lacrosse, starting the year 2-2, is looking to get above the 500 mark. Unfortunately, that did not go as planned, and it would be a tough test as the girls will go down 10-9 in triple overtime against Winthrop. It got worse yesterday, where the girls took a tough defeat at Cincinnati 17-3. Butler will look to get back on the right track on Saturday against Detroit Mercy in Eastern Michigan on Sunday. Well, there's a lot of spring sports this weekend, so tune in. From Butler 360, I'm Ben Wheeler.
Thanks, Ben. Now we head over to the world of the NFL, and joining me today is our NFL analyst, Nate. And so, Nate, I want to start off with kind of the biggest thing that happened in the NFL today was Aaron Rodgers coming out of the dark, leaving the Packers to the Jets. How do you feel that his impact, or what will he do in order to make the Jets a better football team?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and there's no doubt about that. So he'll definitely elevate the team to new heights that they haven't been able to reach recently. But my issue with it is the list of ransom demands that he kind of gave the team. He said, yeah, I know y'all are interested in me, but if you go out and sign these players, then maybe I'll consider it. And two of those players are Martellus Bennett and Randall Cobb, who are deep into their 30s, not on an NFL team for a reason. They're just his best friends. But if you take that out of the picture and you look at some of the other acquisitions that the Jets are making, I really like the decision. It's mutually beneficial. All parties are going to benefit for sure, and I think the Jets are definitely going to be a playoff contender.
Definitely. And so I want to transition a little bit over to the defensive side. Another big trade that happened was Jalen Ramsey. He's heading to Miami. Now we know that the Miami offense with Tua and all their weapons was spectacular. How do you think on the defensive side with adding Jalen Ramsey, will they be a better playoff team?
Well, you say their offense was spectacular, but their defense is top-notch as well. Their pass rush, their linebackers, and even their secondary was already top of the line. And then you throw Jalen Ramsey in there too, and it just makes it that much easier. They can play that much more free going into the season. So, they had Xavier Howard on one side locking it down, and the rest of the secondary kind of doing their job. But now with two perennial Hall of Fame cornerbacks just bookending the defense, it's going to be really tough to do anything against them.
Definitely. And so also I want to transition a little bit more towards the actual draft itself. We know the Bears traded their pick to the Panthers. Who do you think the Panthers are looking to pick for?
I really think they're going to go C.J. Stroud. I know Bryce Young has also talked about going up there, but I feel like C.J. Stroud is just the most NFL-ready quarterback right now. You take him, and it's the decision that makes sense, and it really just sets them up for the future in the best way possible instead of trying to get too fancy, take another Alabama quarterback. You don't really know how that's going to pan out, so they should just take Stroud and just kind of be done with it.
All right. And I want to ask, in your opinion, who do you think will have the biggest impact on their new team?
Honestly, I think it's going to be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, going from the Eagles to the Lions. He's just in that secondary. He can play the nickel, the slot, safety, corner. He can do it all. And the Lions, their offense was phenomenal last year, even with Jared Goff at the helm, but their defense just couldn't stop anybody, and that was their issue. But now that they really get some support back there, also pairing that with Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, that defense is starting to really come together, and they're a team to watch.
Thanks, Nate. Now we head over to Eric while he covers the World Baseball Classic.
Thanks, Brody. Baseball fans had to wait 6 years for the World Baseball Classic to come around again, and the final 2 rounds did not disappoint.
Team USA made short work of Cuba in the first semifinal round as red-hot shortstop Trey Turner, coming off one of the biggest grand slams in the country's history, continued his fireworks show in the tournament with a solo home run in the second inning. He didn't stop there as he blasted a second home run of the game in the 6th inning to extend USA's already large lead to 10. With a final score of 14-2, USA advanced to play the winner of Japan versus Mexico, which came down to the wire. This game was all Mexico early as Luis Arias opened up the scoring for a 3-run home run in the 4th inning. An inning later, Japan thought they got one off Mexico's ace Patrick Sandoval, but tournament standout Randy Arozarena made an electric home run robbery to keep them scoreless. Japan finally broke through when Masataka Yoshida tied the game with a clutch 3-run home run in the 7th inning. The game was back and forth from there, as each team scored in the next half innings, which set up Munetaka Murakami for a walk-off double in the bottom of the 9th to send Japan through to the final. The final was an instant classic headlined by Los Angeles Angels teammates Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Close throughout, USA found themselves down 3-1 heading into the late innings. Locked into an intense at-bat in the 8th inning with designated hitter Kyle Schwarber and longtime MLB ace Yu Darvish, Schwarber does what he does best and cut the lead down to 1 with a deep blast to right field. Relief pitcher Devin Williams then kept the game where it was, which set up two-way star Ohtani to enter from the bullpen to close it out against the top of USA's lineup, and as fate would have it, he matched up against teammate and headliner Mike Trout for the final out. In a 3-2 count, Ohtani struck out Trout to win the tournament for Japan and once again reinstate how special of a player he is.
You know, everybody wanted to see it. You know, he won round one. No, you can't take anything away from it. Just to be able to come out of the bullpen, you know, as a starter, and you know, it's showtime. So it's you know, hats off to them guys over there. It was a tough night for us, but we'll be back.
The finals were the highest-rated World Baseball Classic games ever, as fans are eager to see baseball action. And with the MLB season a little over a week away, more is set to come. For Butler 360 Sports, I'm Eric Barnes.
Thanks, Eric. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. For Butler 360 Sports, I'm Brody Bitters.
And I'm Chandler Hart. We'll see you next week, Bulldog fans.